So you did it. You won in tax court. Huge congratulations. That is awesome news. But hold on, because now comes the really important part. How do you actually turn that piece of paper, that court decision, into real cash in your bank account? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. Look, we're going to walk through this together. We'll cover everything, what the tax office legally has to do, what your part is in all of this, and yeah, even how to get ahead of any last-minute moves they might try to pull. This is your game plan. You know, winning in court, that's like beating the main boss. But getting paid, that's the real final level. It's the last hurdle. And we're here to make sure you don't trip and fall right before you cross that finish line. Okay, so before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let's get one thing crystal clear. You need to understand the power behind that final court decision. This isn't just a piece of paper saying the argument is over. No, it's a legal weapon. It's the starting gun for an execution process that has some serious teeth. And here's the best part, something a lot of people don't realize. This whole thing is supposed to be automatic. That's right. You don't have to go fill out more forms or file some new application. That court decision, it's a direct command to the tax office, the DGP. They have to act on it. It's not a suggestion, there's no wiggle room, there's no negotiation. It's the law. All right, so we've established that your court decision is basically a legally binding order. So what's next? What exactly is the tax office obligated to do? Well, the good news is this isn't some vague gray area. There are super strict rules and, more importantly, a very specific clock they are on. Okay, listen up, because this part is absolutely critical. The moment your local tax office, the KPFP, gets their hands on the official copy of that decision, a countdown begins. A 30-day clock starts ticking. They have exactly 1 month to issue the letter that puts your win into action. Seriously, get out your calendar and mark it, because this deadline is everything. So what does this execution actually mean for you? It's pretty straightforward. Let's say you won a tax refund. Bam! They have to issue what's called a payment order. What if your win was to get a tax debt canceled? Poof, that debt is wiped off the books, gone. Or maybe it was just a simple calculation error. They issue a corrected tax notice. See? It's all very clear-cut depending on what you won. But wait, there's more. And honestly, this is the part that so many people miss out on. If your win involves a refund, the tax office doesn't just owe you the money you overpaid. Nope, they actually owe you something extra. Get this. 2%. That's right, 2% per month. The DJP is legally required to pay you interest compensation on your refund, and it's calculated at 2% every single month for up to 2 years. I mean, think about it. It's basically them paying you back for holding on to your money for all that time. Pretty great, huh? Okay, so we've covered what the government is supposed to do. Now let's flip the script and talk about you. Because even though this process is supposed to be automatic, you can't afford to just sit on your hands and hope for the best. You've got to be proactive. So let's go through a quick checklist to make sure you stay in the driver's seat of this whole thing. All right, here's your 4-point action plan. Super simple. 1, get a copy of that final court decision and keep it somewhere safe. 2, watch your mailbox like a hawk for anything from the tax office. 3, if that 30-day deadline we talked about comes and goes, and you hear nothing but crickets, it's time to pick up the phone and start asking questions. And 4, the final step. When that money finally hits your account, don't just assume it's right. Verify everything. Make sure they calculated that 2% interest correctly. At the end of the day, it's your money. Now, we're almost at the end, but there is one last thing you need to know about. Think of it as anticipating your opponent's final move in a chess game, just so you're never caught off guard. Let's talk about one last legal play the tax office might have up its sleeve. It's a fancy-sounding term called a peninsuan kembali, or just PK for short. Now, let me be clear. This is not a standard appeal. It's what's called an extraordinary appeal. They can only file one with the Supreme Court under some really, really strict conditions. We're talking things like brand new, game-changing evidence popping up, or if they uncover actual fraud in the case. Okay, if you remember only one thing about this PK, let it be this. A PK filing by the tax office does not, I repeat, does not delay you getting paid. It doesn't put a pause on your victory. They are still legally required to pay you your refund or cancel that debt right now, based on the court decision you already won. That whole PK thing? It's a separate process running on a different track, and it can't stop the money that's already heading your way. So there you have it. The ball is in your court. You know the rules, you know what you're entitled to, and now you have a checklist to make it all happen. The question isn't whether you've won, you've already done that. The real question is, are you ready to guard that victory and see it all the way through to the finish line until every last cent is accounted for?